Multi-time WWE Women's Champions, multi-time WWE Divas Champions, produced some of the greatest and most successful WWE female superstars in WWE history. I know you've seen the title of this one. You're probably thinking, Josh, how are you going to do this one? Let's take a little deep dive, shall we? Ladies, gentlemen, my non-binary friends, it is I, Josh Robinson, here for Love Wrestling, and let's look at the legacy of the Diva Search. The Diva Search was one of WWE's biggest talent competitions. Originally starting in 2003, the competition was used to find WWE's next female star. Thanks to the search, the company found new talent for their women's divisions, whether they won the competition or not. WWE saw something special in these ladies and signed them to WWE contracts. There has been a plethora of women throughout the years of the Diva Search from 2003 originally, but when it was on television in 2004 up until 2007. We've seen multiple time WWE Women's Champions, we've seen multiple WWE Divas Champions throughout the years of the Diva Search. Now, of course, in this time, as I've mentioned many times here on The Legacy of, it was a different criteria that they were looking for in women. They were getting the more of the model types who did sometimes have athletic backgrounds and taking them in and kind of letting them learn on the job, and it wasn't all about wrestling, it was about other things and other areas of what you could bring to the table. However, some of the most looked at great wrestlers throughout the time of the Diva era in WWE come straight from the Diva Search. I'm going to give you a list of some of the names that appeared in some year, any way, shape or form, whether they are a finalist or not, in the Diva Search. So here's a little rundown of some of the women who appeared in the Diva Search. Christy Hemme, Joy Giovanni, Amy Weber, Maria Kanellis, Michelle McCool, Ashley Mazzaro, Crystal Marshall, Layla, Rosa Mendez, Maurice, Eve Torres, Lena Yada, Taryn Terrell, the Bella Twins. These are just some of the women that appeared in the WWE Diva Search throughout the years of 2004 to 2007. Now, a lot of people, probably when I say Diva Search, would have a little bit of a... they're probably looking at a time where, again, the emphasis was on the looks. In latter years of the WWE Diva Search, you really didn't even need to have a desire to wrestle, have any wrestling experience, or really know much about WWE to apply. They just wanted you to look great. But that was the criteria, and that was what WWE was aiming for throughout these years. Now, however, all of those women that I have listed, well, majority of them, went on to become champions, whether it be WWE Divas Champion, WWE Women's Champion, or even a TNA Knockouts champion or a champion of another company. You see, Candice Michelle, she was the first WWE Diva Search contestant to go on to win the WWE Women's Championship in 2007. Yet Michelle McCool be the inaugural WWE Divas Champions. Eve Torres, a 3-time Divas Champion. The Bella Twins, multi-time WWE Divas Champions. And a list of other women that I could sit here and just go on and list off all of their accolades, but they might get their own episode one day, so you never know what I'm going to need to save for those legacy ofs. However, what I'm trying to get at here is that the Diva Search produced some of the most successful women in the WWE and outside of the WWE in the time. And you mix that together with the women that were already there, and hopefully you have a recipe for success. Now, of course, not every woman that come from the Diva Search was successful or made a name for themselves in the business. However, a lot of the women did. The track record was definitely there in some way, shape, or form. If you look at some of the Diva Search contestants over the years, you know that their experience level may have not been what it was for a girl working on the indies, but it was definitely a way to get your foot into the door. Michelle McCool is often looked at as one of the best wrestlers in the Diva era. If you look at her body of work, you can kind of tell that she was a step above maybe someone who come in with no experience and didn't really want to learn. You did see that with a lot of girls. You got to take the good with the bad, and you did see that with a lot of the women that entered into the Diva Search. Is that we know why they're here. We know what their plan is, just to get some notoriety and make a little bit of extra money, or whatever it may be, just make a little bit of a name for themselves. But you did see some women who did have that attitude coming in and then fall in love with the wrestling business, like a Christy Hemme. Christy Hemme was the original 2004 WWE Raw Diva Search winner, and she went on to compete at WrestleMania 21 against Trish Stratus. I mean, that's a pretty good feat to say that you got to wrestle the greatest, if you really want to argue it, one of the greatest WWE female superstars of all time. You look at someone like Taryn Terrell, who was the ECW general manager. She'd come from the Diva Search. In 2007, of course, the competition had changed a little bit. Throughout the years, it went from being on Raw to kind of being a split between Raw, SmackDown, and WWE.com, before eventually the final season in 2007 becoming exclusive to WWE.com, and they'll do these little segments. You know, the Diva Search segments that were often interesting, I guess is the word to use for them. They were often interesting. There was a very famous segment in 2004 that happened, the Diss the Diva. It was something that I won't repeat here on the Legacy of, because I don't like to use suggestive language or anything like that here, but if you just type in Diss the Diva WWE Raw, I'm sure it will come up on YouTube, or you can go on the WWE Network or the WWE Network on Peacock. I don't know if it's edited out. I honestly don't know. There was a lot of swearing. There was a lot of suggestive actions that were taking place. It's very hard to explain without going too far over the line. But again, those are some of the Divas segments that stand the test of time. For better or for worse, people know what you're referring to when you say Diss the Diva. But they did have all these quirky little Diva segments. I remember Diva Dodgeball at SummerSlam in 2004. That was a big deal because it was a shoot, and the Diva Search girls actually beat them. I believe it was actually 2005 even. It was one of the years at SummerSlam. It was the Divas versus the Diva Search contestants, and the Diva Search contestants actually won, which is actually crazy. But so many things happened in the Diva Search era that, again, just produced a lot of talent. Lay Cool. We talked about Michelle McCool. You talk about Layla, who actually won the competition in 2006. And she and Michelle would go on. I've had a legacy of Lay Cool, one of, if not the greatest female tag team of all time. The Bella Twins never made it onto the television end of the Diva Search. However, they were discovered through the WWE Diva Search. They just weren't selected as finalists, but they were discovered. And again, whether you want to agree with me or not, they're also considered as one of, if not the greatest WWE female tag teams of all time. But you look at all of the contestants. Ashley Mazzaro, she went on to compete at multiple WrestleManias. I talked about Christy Hemme earlier, going on to compete at multiple WrestleManias. Candice Michelle, I talked about her earlier being the first WWE Diva Search contestant to win a WWE Women's Championship. She won it in 2007 and held it for several months, and worked a program with Beth Phoenix, who is now a Hall of Famer. There are so many things from the Diva Search era that we look at and turn our nose up, and I just think it's actually, if you deep dive into anything, you're going to find some things that were very positive to come out of that, and that is a lot of the talent that were involved in the Diva Search. If you look at someone like Maria Kanellis, who is now working in a managerial type position in Ring of Honor, bringing in a lot of other women into the tournament that's currently happening, at time of recording, of course, that's currently happening, and going through and scouting all of these women from all over America and the world in some sense, pandemic aside, and bringing them in for a tournament. Maria is in that spot, both on television and from a backstage standpoint. She's doing things within the business. She come from the original Diva Search. She was a mainstay on WWE programming throughout 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, going into 2010 before her eventual first release. She was a backstage interviewer. She was a wrestler. She competed at WrestleMania 24, Bunny Mania. She was there. A lot of these girls did Playboy, which, again, a lot of people will turn their nose up at, but it is something that gained them more equity. It gained them more of a spotlight. That was what WWE was, that was their demographic at that point. So the divas were able to do that. A lot of them come from the Diva Search era. So there's so many women that have come from this time, and Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything about the Diva Search was fantastic and I'd never change anything. No, I'm not saying that at all, because call a spade, there were things about the Diva Search that wasn't so great. And it wasn't something that I was necessarily looking for when I'm looking for a WWE diva or wrestler, whatever you want to call them, sports entertainer, it doesn't matter. There's some things about it that I was like, why are they playing dodgeball? Why are they running on the beach? Why are they doing this? Again, a different time, it certainly wouldn't happen now, but it is something that you can take away and go, hey, we got a lot of great talent out of this time. And a lot of these women were mainstays on WWE programming for the years to follow from the Diva Search era from 2004 to 2007. Now, of course, there was rumors, and at one point WWE even announced that the Diva Search would be coming back, and I think they were going to call it something else in 2016 or something like that when the Diva term was dropped. But they were going to be looking for female talent in a similar kind of way, but I think with more wrestling experience. It never came to fruition, it never happened, but I don't know if we'll ever have something along the lines of quote-unquote a Diva Search-like show to come back, but I think it'd be cool. Like, Tough Enough is great and everything. I would like to see more of those reality-based competition shows come back. I think they're a lot of fun. I think there is a little bit of a missed opportunity with something, but it is a different time in wrestling, and women especially are in a very different state now in 2021 than they were in 2004 when this concept originally came to be. So I guess you could kind of look at it and go, it's really not for wrestling anymore. I wish we could weave it in some ways or just do something a little bit different, but like I said, never say never in wrestling. I think it's really important that we at least acknowledge the fact that the Diva Search brought us great talent. It brought us some really infamous segments in WWE history, and it was a mainstay of programming for 4 years. So you have to look at it at least with that kind of interest or intrigue, or at least state facts that this is what happened and the multiple champions it produced from the Diva Search era. So I think it's really important. And again, a lot of people will turn their nose up at this, and that's fine. I wanted to do something a little bit different, maybe a little bit left of field. They wouldn't necessarily picture would be a legacy of episode. But that's going to do it for me today here on Love Wrestling. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at @JoshRobinson_00. If you want to follow Love Wrestling on Twitter, it's at LoveWrestlingCA. You can find all the links for my stuff and Love Wrestling stuffs in the description below. Tell me your opinions of the Diva Search. Do you want to see it back? Who is some of your favorite Diva Search contestants or moments throughout the years of the WWE Diva Search? Tell me in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter. Until next Monday, right here on The Legacy of, hope you have a wonderful day. I'm Josh Robinson, and I'm signing out. See you later.